And you should know that every time we see a curves in the wild, I uncork a "Como estás?"
She'll know what it means.
Welcome to the Other 51. I'm your host, Brian Moritz, and this episode I am joined by two-time Tony nominee, current star of the Spamalot revival on Broadway, and for our purposes here, one of the writing team bringing you The Life and Slimes of Marc Summers, which is playing on New World stages in New York through June. Also, one of my favorite human beings on Broadway or anywhere, Alex Brightman. Welcome to the show.
Wow, what an intro. That should be on my epitaph. That's so nice. And I really appreciate you saying that I'm the star of Spamalot. I'll take it. I'll just take it. I'm not going to try and defend everyone. Everyone puts in their part, but I think truly, I am the star.
You really do. You really tie the show together.
That's right. Like a good rug in a room.
Right. I mean, you're a star of it, so
sure. Okay, I'll go with that.
There you go. So I want to start off with a random throwback question. So a couple years ago, while you were in Beetlejuice, actually, Drew Gasparini, your writing partner and friend, was on the show. And yep. I asked him this question, and so I want to get your answer to it too.
Oh, Lord.
All right. So how did Simon's mom take the message in a little bit?
What an excellent question. And you know what? It's good for my memory to be asked these questions because I feel like I'm losing it day to day. Honestly, I think there was probably, if I had to guess, and from the context clues I know from the rest of the show, I think she took it like any good mom would, which is a little bit of not shock necessarily. I think a lot of moms maybe know who their kids are before they do. But I think there was an absolute acceptance and probably a little fear for the rest of, for his life, because it is not a choice. It is who you are. And life is unfortunately difficult and was much more difficult back when this show, happened.
Right.
But I think it was probably met with grace and a little bit of anxiety.
So, first of all, congratulations on the show.
Thanks.
Getting its run. It looks amazing. So from the description of it, we got to start here. It is a, quote, part interactive game show, part memoir.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Oh, who the hell knows? It's well, no, this show, the thing people know about Marc Summers is that he was a game show host. That's kind of number one, unless you come from the generation that watched Unwrapped, which again, you sort of know who he was. He's in the zeitgeist enough that he's the host of Double Dare, which is one of the most interactive and messiest game show hosts and in history. That's one of the messiest game shows in history. And in telling this story, because getting to know him and then reading his memoir, which is all about his chronic OCD and how it was sort of taboo back when he announced it. To me, that was the juxtaposition that screamed show, screamed a one-man show. It's complicated and layered and interesting. But I always think the way into something is an unexpected way. I mean, that's really fun to sort of go, you come in for the show and stay for the tears, it's sort of that kind of thing. So I think we wrote people in a little bit with the sort of the promise of Double Dare, which you do get, which I think you need. It's the thing I call the chicken soup model. If you're going to show people something, give them a little home style cooking before you throw some, Cajun gumbo at them. So I think that's kind of what we do with the show. So yeah, there are games to be played. Audiences can play. The first 2 rows are splash zone seating or slime zone seating. But then, we really do get into it. We get into his life, and which is complicated as well and ongoing because it's him and it's still living it. So, yeah, I think that's kind of how we did it. We wanted to frame it in this way that could be very fun and accessible. And then once we got you in, we tell you a very interesting story.
So how did you and Drew get connected with the story? So how did this journey to the theater, to the current production, how did that start?
Well, it all started when I saw Marc in Double Dare Live when I was like 9.
God, Double Dare was the best show. I remember
it was the best.
I remember in elementary school, like we would I think we either wanted or somebody planned a Double Dare birthday party. Like it was everything.
Definitely that was existing when it was the show and What Would You Do and all the fun, shows he was a part of. But the way we got connected was really random. My ex-girlfriend and I had this show on YouTube called An Actor Prepares ... which was a cooking show, which I thought was a very clever kind of play on that. And we did sort of a cable access, silly Billy kind of terribly edited on purpose cooking show where we actually cooked a meal, saving some time. Marc was in a production of Grease playing Vince Fontaine with Drew, who played Eugene. And they both had a lot of offstage time. So Drew was in a lot of the episodes of our show that we were shooting. And Marc ended up kind of catching wind of it while Drew was watching the newest episode backstage. And he kind of asked what it was and thought it was interesting and thought maybe there's a shot at it being afternoon programming on Food Network because it was silly, like Alton Brown and things like that were in the afternoon. So he brought us to Philly, kind of wined and dined us on the network. And we did a pitch. We did an extra episode on spec for them. And then they kind of ended up thinking it was too weird, which I get. But after that, we just stayed buddies. We have a lot of, him and I especially have a real affinity for like old showbiz, old Hollywood. I have stories, not of my own, because I wasn't there, from a billion different things I've read, podcasts, things that the era I wish I was born in. It's why we get along so much, because we have the same referential material. And we just started talking about his life. And when I saw that he had a memoir, that interested me. And so really the connection became, we were buddies, and I was sort of secretly in the back of my head going, I know he wants to perform on stage, but I know that he's not like the most keen actor in the world, and he knows that. So what can we do here? And the more interesting his stories got, the more I thought this could be something. And I got a kick out of the stories, and I thought they were universally interesting. So I just used him a little bit, took us out to dinner a lot, paid for dinner a lot, fancy restaurants. He gets the treatment because he's the Food Network guy. And it just became kind of this labor of true love. I mean, just because I love him. I think he's awesome, and I think he's got a cool story to tell. So the connection was really random, and then it just stuck, as most friendships do.
How long have you been, like, when did this start? Like, really the writing and creating of the show in earnest? When did it start?
I want to say 2013.
Oh, wow.
I think is when the genesis of, or at least when I started taking book notes
Okay.
on the memoir. I remember where I was living, so that kind of gives me a place. I was living in Queens. This is after I broke up, or we broke up, my ex-girlfriend and I. I can kind of remember this throughout, like, when that all happened. I started taking book notes in a corner of a very, subletty apartment, and then it kind of went from there. I kind of, left it for a while, came back to it, but I think we got a 70-page draft in record amount of time. I mean, it was something that kind of flew out just because we had the chronology.
So how did you, as you're writing this and you're working with Drew on the music, obviously, how do you kind of capture Marc's voice in a way that's, for like, not just copying straight out? How do you turn a memoir into a show while still keeping that voice?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'm not sure I have like the real definitive answer. I think I just know Marc, after a while of getting to know him and hearing how he talks. And that's one, like kind of just knowing his voice. And as an actor myself, like getting into someone is my job. Like getting to sort of empathize and sympathize, I think makes me a better writer on these certain circumstances because I sort of know how he's going to deliver it, or I can guess from the way he's delivered regular conversation. So that's number one. And number two, I knew with his capacity and skill set and age, because he wouldn't be, shy about this either, that it's 70 pages plus, and memorizing that as a young person is a hard thing to do. And I knew that what I needed to do, aside from making it feel accurate in his voice, was to make it accessible for him. So there were moments written in where it was like, do your host thing.
Okay.
Because then he does. He's brilliant when he's off the cuff there. So trying to have him stick on material was like at my detriment sometimes. So I gave him the bones and I gave him the real script. But when things were not going the way we wanted it to go, or it felt hokey, or it felt like complicated for him to do, or a little complex, we would just simplify it. And it was real, truly collaborative with Marc and then Drew, and then also our director, Chad. And it was sort of a big collaboration on how to make this work for somebody who is, further along in their life. It's hard. So we tried to make it as easy as possible.
So you mentioned your experience as an actor, and I'm glad you did, because that's a great segue into something else I wanted to talk about. I'm curious how because you write a lot and you act a lot. So how does you kind of mentioned this already, but I'd love some more detail. How does your acting experience kind of inform your writing, and then vice versa? Like your experience as a writer, how does that inform you on stage or doing voiceover work or on camera?
The first thing is a big lesson that I learned, which is I'm such an improv maniac and somebody who loves to take the words off the page and see what's there and see what isn't there and add. And the lesson I learned from writing a bunch of things and not only writing them, but seeing people perform my material is sometimes you just want to hear the words you wrote. And I learned that lesson. I was like, oh, interesting. I could stand to use that advice too. Like really give the writers what they want to hear first. And then you can gain the trust to collaborate and improvise and change things. But as a writer, it was really vital to me when I started hearing people immediately start to make kind of cold choices on my writing. I totally understood it all of a sudden about why maybe you should gain some trust before that. So that's a big lesson I learned. And I think that being an actor and reading a bunch of scripts and analyzing scripts and loving scripts made me just a more it was a seamless transition into at least knowing the structure of how to write a script and what is a good story and how to write it in 30 pages or how to write it in 2 hours, whatever. So I think it really did. The acting really informed the writing. The writing informs the acting in my acting career just because of wanting to honor the writing more. I think it really goes back to the first point is I really have gotten a real affinity for trying to get things perfect first so then we can crack it open. And I think that has really helped. That helped with Beetlejuice a lot. It really did because it's so rife with like places to just mess around. But there are just moments that are brilliant writing that you don't want to tread on. And so I, as a writer and an actor, I have a lot more respect for the writing.
And there are so many moments in Beetlejuice. I know we've talked about this, and you've said it on other interviews that felt like improv, but that weren't, and that's a testament to the writing of that show.
Big time. People asked all the time, which I thought was the best compliment to the writing, was how much of that was improvised. Was it most of it? Which, if you know anything about a show, like it can't be most of it. But no, really, truly, there are just moments that really felt off the cuff. And after a while performing it, for 500, 700 performances, I wasn't 100%. I forgot kind of what parts were that built out of improvisation or truly improved. So yeah, that was kind of what was going on with Beetlejuice. But it was like 2%, I think, of the whole show was really truly improvised, and the rest of it was just really cleverly written writing in my voice. And that was the beauty of having collaborated for that long, is that they would write rewrites and they just came out in my tongue.
So getting back to kind of the writing process for this show, you mentioned the book notes and writing the memoir. Do you remember, was there a moment, or as you're starting to take those notes or you're starting to read, kind of like for lack of a better term, an aha moment where you're like, "Ooh, this is something," or "This is a moment that we're going to capture. This is how do you remember like any kind of moments that was like, you really realized, oh, I got something here, or we have something here"?
I think so, yeah. And then I got to see it kind of come to fruition at opening night. And I'd seen it we've done this production a few different times in a few different places, to really nice acclaim, which kind of always shocks me. It's you put something in your head, you put it out there, and you never know. The aha moment, I would say, is that, and this is a slight spoiler for the show, but it's okay. I mean, it's not, it's his life. He starts to, before you kind of understand that what he has is chronic OCD, he mentions early on that when he gets a little bit of fame, that he has a stalker. And you kind of believe that he has this stalker that kind of like waits in the background, and you kind of don't know too much about it. You hear from this stalker, you sort of see it in the mist, and then you start to realize that this stalker is actually the OCD. And it sort of holds him, it literally holds him in the show. It prevents him from things. It forces him to read signs over and over again. But it is done in this really, really cool, interesting theatrical way that when I thought of that, I went, okay, this is now a theater piece. Like this brings it from let me tell you about my life to let me show you kind of what it felt like and how he visualized it. And so that was the big kind of moment that I felt really proud of. And when I saw it in the show and saw how it was reacted to, that was like one of my more proud moments of being a writer. Is I thought it would be interesting, and for having everyone to agree, it was like so nice.
What's that when you see a show, one of your shows, or a reading for the first time as a writer? What's that like for you?
Honestly, I think that, the cliche answer is like, oh, I watch it from behind my fingers and hands, and I'm covering my face. I love it. I really do. I don't mind. There's two things. I don't mind watching myself on camera. I have no problem with that. I know some people do, and I get why. But I have really no problem like watching my writing, good or bad. I just think it's interesting and cool that people have taken the time to want to see it, want to do it. So I don't know. I've never really. My answer is kind of boring. I kind of like it.
Okay.
I'm all about it.
Okay. So how did you and Drew connect, and how did you guys start writing together?
The beginning of this answer is great. Is that we connected over a very drunken night many years ago. I had I had I had bombed so hard at this concert. I tried to sing a song. I did not prepare. I bombed, and it's one of the few times I've bombed. And I even talking about it now, like I have heart palpitations. It was so embarrassing. And then the person that followed me was Drew. I'd never met him before, and I was stopped short. I mean, I was trying to leave because I was so embarrassed. And I heard his music, and I just fell crazy in love with it. It was exactly the stuff I wanted to sing. And I didn't get a chance to see him, but then I saw him the next week and kind of gushed about what it was and how big of a fan I was. And that's, that's kind of how we met. And then we just started hanging out pretty quickly. We became really fast friends. And then I just kind of mentioned to him, like, hey, I'm trying to write and things like that. It's not going well. And then I went to his apartment and saw a kind of post-it note about a thing he was writing or trying to conceptualize. And I thought it was a cool idea, but I thought the execution that I had seen on the page was like, well, I think I have a better idea for this. I just asked him if I could like write a few pages to see if it's anything. Took him to a bar, laid the pages out. We both got Cuba Libres, which is a delicious drink if you're a drinker, and I'm not anymore. And he read it and he totally got it. And so we just started writing something. And in 3 months, we were unemployed. In 3 months, I had spent every day at a Barnes and Noble in the cafe. We had a draft of something, and he was written lyrics of it. We were passing it back and forth. And that was just the way we met. And it was quickly after we met. And so now it's been a really lovely collaboration. And we kind of speak each other's language when we write. But yeah, it all started on one very unsuccessfully drunken night, and one of the worst times I've ever performed. I'll never forget that.
What was the song? What was the song?
It's a song by a wonderful guy named Will Van Dyke, who's a composer and lyricist. And I cannot remember the song. It might be a song called Marie and Me, which is a song you can find on Spotify. Marie, Marie and Me. And I just think I was nervous. I mean, I was super young. I mean, I was like, this was 15 years ago. Gotta be.
So what is that? So what's that collaboration process like now? As I know you guys have worked on a ton of shows together. So are you guys coming up with ideas together? Does one of you like how does that work? And I know you write the book, he writes lyrics, but also you write everything together kind of. So.
Yeah, we do. And it became more and more of that kind of a collaboration as we went, because I really was like, I have no clue how to write lyrics. I don't know how people do that. I really don't, still don't really. But the way we work for the most part, and it changes, there's variations, is we tend to talk about it a lot. We take a lot of notes. We have a lot of conversations, some big brainstorms, note cards all over the floor kind of stuff. Sort of like a TV writer's room a little bit. And then what ends up happening, at least for the number of shows we've done so far, is I tend to write the play. I tend to write the story in script form as much as I can. And when I find that there are moments that will probably end up being a song, I won't leave them alone. I'll just start writing a little more poetically about what I think the thing is about in dialogue. I'll have the character sort of leap out a little bit, which of course will not be in the final product, and show Drew, like, this is what I think the moment is.
Okay.
And then Drew takes over, or Drew reads the play and goes, I think actually this moment is that. And then we kind of go back and forth and start adding things, and Drew sends me things. I listen to them and tweak a few things here and there. And that's kind of how we've done it. And only recently have I sort of taken a crack at like lyrics here and there, but it's really not my forte, especially when I'm dealing with someone like Drew. It's just, I will write lyrics at my peril, knowing that Drew is next door to me. So yeah, we stay in our lanes pretty heavily.
So, you're a busy dude. Like I said, you're starring in a Broadway show.
That is an understatement, by the way. At this moment, whenever this comes out, I am at my busiest currently in this moment.
So, kind of two-pronged question. I'll ask the granular one first. So, how do you fit in writing time into your schedule? How does that like logistically work for you?
I believe it's in the AA world. or any anonymous world where you talk about your higher power. And I'm not a religious person at all. So I was thinking I'd heard that at one point, and I was like, I think my higher power actually is my calendar.
Okay.
I like really, really, I have real reverence for my calendar. And now that I know how to work one really well, I put in writing time in my calendar as if it's a full-time job.
Okay.
So like it goes in between like doing this podcast, then maybe it would say 2 hours of writing. And what I do in that is not maybe it's 2 hours of writing or it's free time. If anyone asks me, hey, do you want to go and grab lunch? I can't. I'm busy doing writing right that. For those 2 hours, even if I'm staring at a blank screen, I commit myself on that calendar as if it was someone else gave me an assignment.
Okay.
So I kind of been my own boss, and I've become a much better boss of myself using a calendar, which my calendar is so full. It looks like it literally will explode at some point. It's crazy. I mean, it's like, this is the craziest it's been. It looks like it has chicken pox at this point.
So I actually off topic on writing, but I'm obsessed with my calendar too, and I love and we have our family calendar. So what are some of the other ways that you've kind of learned to work your calendar that can be helpful for people?
I think being very specific about your calendar. I used to put in, and every time I would put in an event, it would just be for an hour. Like, because the default is 1 hour. So if I put in something at 11, it goes to 12. That's all it does. I've learned now to really be, as you said, granular about it. I've been like, if I have 30 minutes, I'm not trying to fill every moment of my day, but if I see 30 minutes and I want to write, I'll put the 30 minutes in there. And rather than it be an hour, because it's a little daunting sometimes if you just have all these hour plans in your calendar. That's number one. Number two, I share a calendar with my wife. So sometimes the hour I have is something that I don't really have because it's something else in the calendar that involves both of us. So it is a constant check-in. I check in on that more than almost anything in my calendar. And so I have lots of reminders. I have lots of things. And if I need to change something, my boss is pretty lenient on that. My boss is a good guy. He's strict but fair. But I try to keep to it as much as I can, because if I don't, I know I'm a person that will slip easily into like laziness. And if I want to, I mean, there's nothing better than lying on a couch.
Right.
Yeah. So if my boss was more lenient, then I think I would be a less good everything.
Gotcha. So I guess the bigger picture on your busyness is, with all this work the acting work that you're doing, why do you continue to write?
Well, one, I really love it. I started because I had fun ideas that I wanted to put down, whether or not I knew I was good at it or writing. I just had fun little notions when I wasn't acting. And now the answer is twofold. One, I still love it. I get a real kick out of writing, even free writing, whatever it might be, journaling or whatever, getting the thoughts out. And I really enjoy piecing things together. I have Google Docs for every project that I have. I have a script and a Google Doc, which I dump dialogue into if I don't use it, because I never want to delete anything. So there's that. I love it, and I have a way to do it. But two, and this is a real just candid answer, it's made me money. And at this point, like, it's just a nice thing to know that sometimes my writing can pay my rent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am really spurned by that, like spurned on to like go and do it, because sometimes it works out, and who doesn't want to make money doing the thing that you love? I've done it with acting.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, why wouldn't I try to do it with this? So sometimes it's out of love. Sometimes it is really because someone's paying me.
It's not a bad reason to do it.
I think it's a good reason. I think that a lot of writers fool themselves by being like, no, it's just for the love of the game. I'm like, you don't want people to see it?
Right.
Like, oh, this is just for me. I'm like, I kind of call bullshit on that sometimes. Like, this is just an exorcism for me. I'm never going to show anybody. To me, I'm like, why? Like, I don't really understand. Maybe you understand why, and I respect that, or whoever you are, but I don't really get that. I want people to see my stuff. I don't care if they pay for it. I'm happy if they do, but I just want people to see my stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of from the same world, because I come from the journalism world. So that's like the whole point of writing or doing something is for someone to see it and someone to hopefully react to it, but at least someone to see it.
And I've been in the commercial theater world for so long that, like, I value my time and I value what I have to offer a lot. And so it's not always fun to do things for free. I've done a lot of things for free. for very many years. And at this point, I'm like, well, no, I think I've earned the right to sort of say, if you want to see my stuff, maybe you, in return, give me a couple shekels. Why not? Not all the time, but sometimes.
So I'm curious, and random question that popped into my head. So as a show, the show's running in New York. It's running through June. What's your
Yeah.
relationship to it? Especially, Spam-A-Lot ends in a few weeks. What's your relationship to it while it's running? Do you go often? Are you there during the day? Do you just kind of like let go and let God while it's there?
Um, I'm not sure God had anything to do with this, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I have no real proof that he exists or doesn't, so I can't possibly blame it on him or not, but or her. And no, listen, this is how busy I was. When it was in rehearsals, I was doing Spam-A-Lot and also the 6-week workshop of Smash that's coming to Broadway in the next year. And I had no hours in my day to really get there as much as I wanted to. So I was being sent videos of rehearsal. If there were parts that needed to be rewritten, I would get emails from Chad, our director, saying, hey, we need a little something for this part. Can you do it? So during breaks, I would just turn some pages around sometimes and just send them PDFs of what I thought. We'd collaborate. We go back and forth. They left me alone, and I'm really grateful for that because they were trying to figure stuff out and knew how busy I was. But no, my allegiance to the show is as much as I can give it. I've seen the show once. I went to opening night. I plan to go much more often once the show closes because I really do want to see it. I like it. I loved my time there. So the rewrites are done. I'm not working on the show anymore because the show is up and they don't really rehearse because it's a one-man show. I mean, I guess if Mark wanted to, but I don't think he does. But yeah, so my allegiance to the show is rewrites because also at the end of the show, he kind of does a where am I now? And that changes. We've done the show a number of times and things change. So every time we do this, and I hope we maybe do it one or two more times before Mark, I think, inevitably should retire. He should enjoy his time that he's earned. But if he wants to do this for the next 10 years, I'm game and I'll keep updating it. But that's really my duty to the show is just making sure that it still feels right, current, and if they ever need me to do something, I'm happy to do it.
What other projects do you and Drew or just you have in the works right now?
A couple of things. Drew and I have a show that we have tried to figure out what the hell it is for a long time. I think it's a musical. We talked about it being an animated musical. We have an adaptation of the children's novel, The Whipping Boy, which is something I'm completely obsessed with, and I think it screams musical. So we've been trying to work on that. It's a Prince and the Pauper kind of fun version of that story with wild characters, and we have a draft of it. We're not sure what it is yet. There's that. I have a play that's been being developed for a little while that Cynthia Nixon has kind of helmed, called Everything is Fine, which is kind of surrounds the events of a big tragedy in a town that a family's son committed. And it's kind of on the anniversary of this tragedy that this family is still sort of figuring out how to defy this identity that their son gave them without them asking. How do you define an identity of being that kid's family and going back to being singular people? So that's a play called Everything is Fine. I have a show set up at 20th Century. I have a television show, a single cam rom-com that was bought by 20th Century, and we're trying to get going and moving, but there's a big log jam in Hollywood because of the strike and everything like that. And then my writing partner, Nick Walker, and I, who's in Spam-A-Lot playing Galahad, we pitched and sold over the pandemic a cartoon to Warner Brothers.
Oh, nice.
Called Cleaners, which is about a group of biohazard trauma cleaners in Boston pre Y2K. So it's very, very, raunchy and silly and it's like a bunch of dummies that you wouldn't want handling your most precious parts. And it's slightly musical as well. So there's that. Yeah, I'm trying right now. The thing that is in his infancy, which I'm just obsessed with right now, is I'm trying to write a musical with Ben Schwartz.
Okay.
Who people know as Jean-Ralphio from Parks and Rec or the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. And he's never written anything musical, and I have. So we're trying to work on this musical about an actor, a woman who's been a pretty successful actor and having a huge drought in her career for about 2 years. And the whole musical is about who are you when you can't do the thing you're doing?
Oh, neat.
And what are you? And do you love this, or have you just been doing it so long that you have faked yourself that you're in love with it because you can't do anything else? And at the age of 37, when is it too late? Is it too late? And so it's based around a woman who's having a drought, and the 6 people around her who play, they play 8 characters each in her life. And it's sort of big, sort of vignette type kind of show that we're currently calling Dry Spell. We originally wanted to do it in the structure of Godspell, which is why the title happened. Like, we wanted to be like parables about actors, which still might be in the works. It's very, very new, and I'm just sort of writing thoughts down. But that one it's very exciting to me because it speaks to a big part of what I love and what I hate about this industry.
That's very cool. All right. So I ask every guest on the show this question. So I'm going to ask you, and I ask every Broadway person the same corollary question. So, best show you've seen lately and best thing you've read lately?
The best thing I've read lately was a book called Boomtown.
Okay.
Are you talking about theater stuff? Because I don't read a ton of plays.
It could be anything.
There's a book called Boomtown, which is about Oklahoma City's sort of like origin story. Like it's a very crazy place that should not have existed, kind of the way it came about. This like one of the weirdest states ever. And it's just written in such a way that's so accessible, and the writer doesn't mince words. It's great. It's a really accessible, cool, fascinating history about Oklahoma City, which is where all my in-laws are. So it was fun to like learn about the place that I love and have been to a number of times. Best thing I've seen. I mean, I'm kind of throwing it back a little bit, but like A Strange Loop has still stuck with me.
That was so good.
And I would say it's tied with the play Ain't No Mo.
Okay, yeah.
I just thought it was one of the greatest things that not a lot of people saw, and that's a tragedy because it was one of the coolest theatrical experiences I've had in a long time.
So we will have links to all of your shows and the books and everything in the show notes to this. And Alex, this has been awesome. Thanks so much.
Hey, it's been awesome for me too. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to The Other 51. Big thanks to Alex Brightman for being on the show and just being an all-around awesome human being. You can learn more about Alex's shows and get tickets to them at the links in the show notes for this episode. Jen Moritz does our graphic design, and Ellie Moritz does our theme music. I'm Brian. Talk to y'all soon.